a moment.
I got mine.
Oh, yeah. It's open. Got mine. I love that big version of that. Save your paper. Shade the trees.
That's the only one.
Not relevant. They were doing police interviews. Police interviews before they hire, they have an interview.
Bernadette's here, we can start.
Mr. Rizzo.
How are you?
Lovely. Personal committee.
I'll ask for Paul.
Hi, Bernadette.
Hi, Cass. How are you? Long time no see. We really need to lower this podium. It's all hard.
Just shift you guys over a little. Shift
She likes to hide.
closer.
Sit. You don't need to be front and center.
Oh, there's the drink. Looks like an office.
You guys see that?
Hi, Al. How are you today?
Just wonderful.
Wonderful. Same.
I tried to open the thing.
Okay, we call the meeting to order. We ready, Lamar? Thank you, sir. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Ms. Poliska, present. Mr. Kaminsky.
Here.
Mr. DeSarno.
Here.
Mayor Morgan.
Here,
Mrs. Jaffray.
Here.
Mr. Kogan.
Here.
Mrs. McKnight.
Here.
salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's a public meeting of Borough Council, Borough of Providence, County of Union, State of New Jersey. Adequate notice has been given in accordance with PL 1975, Chapter 231. That annual notice or revision was made in conformance with Section 13 of the Act. I have an appointment for the Beautification Committee. Angela Wilson, can I have a motion, please? So moved.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
No, so be it. Okay, approval for minutes for March 12th. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
No, so be it. We have correspondence, Board of Adjustment, for Brook Road. Helena Beswick Bamboo Ordinance, Union Township. I think you were looking at the tree ordinance and everything.
Well, the tree ordinance is different than a
Yeah,
bamboo
but-
ordinance. I mean, I'm working on the tree ordinance.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to get into a bamboo ordinance. They can be very difficult.
Yeah,
I've
I
had some
know.
experience with it.
I know,
I can send you a model kind of
okay.
bamboo ordinance.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Union County Special Budget Hearing. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll go to Council Business Administration. Lisa.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Resolution 2024-101. That is a resolution approving the proposal from General Code Publishers Corp. For codification and updates to Borough Code in the amount not to exceed $18,293. This was a subject that came up, I think, a couple weeks ago at one of our council meetings. This is that me? No. So this resolution is going to approve the proposal to codify the ordinances in the Borough Code so that they're all concise and in one spot.
Okay, Advisory Board, Nadine.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-102 is a resolution authorizing the application by the Mental Health Awareness, well, it's Advocacy and Education, actually, Mental Health Advocacy and Education Committee for the Summit Foundation grant. So we are requesting permission to apply for the grant through the Summit Foundation. And we're looking to use this to do our activities for the Mental Health Committee from June of 2024 through May of 2025.
Right.
So that would take us through, we're looking to do something in September-ish for around suicide prevention, and that'll take us through our May Mental Health Awareness Month. So more to follow on mental health awareness, but so, yeah, we are putting in for this grant. Our old grant had worn out or run out, and now we're looking to have another way of funding.
Okay, community activities, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 103 is a salary resolution. This resolution is for all of our salaries for our summer help, for all of our summer programs.
Okay, engineering construction, Alex.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-104, resolution approving partial payment number 1 to T&S Painting and Maintenance, Inc. in the amount of $16,500 for the project known as Municipal Center Painting. This is approving the first payment of the second and third floors of, painting of the second and third floors of the Municipal Center. It was last painted 15 years ago. I believe they've completed the construction office, the third floor conference room, nurse's office, surrounding offices, clerk's office, kitchen area, and both in second and third floor hallways. Resolution 2024-105, resolution approving change order number 1 to T&S Painting and Maintenance, Inc. in the amount of $2,200 for additional services related to the project known as Municipal Center Painting. This is a change order that adds wallpaper to the second floor conference room that was not part of the original scope. Resolution 2024-106, resolution approving payment for Faggio Trinity Electric LLC in the amount of $18,500 for the DeCorso Center generator installation project. This is the final payment for the installation for the generator at the DeCorso Center. Resolution 2024-107, resolution appointing Carmen Torciello as part-time civil engineer and zoning official, the Planning and Development Department for the Borough of New Providence. This is appointing Carmen Torciello as a part-time civil engineer in the Department of Planning and Development effective March 27, 2024. Hourly rate of $66 per hour, not to exceed 25 hours per week.
Okay, finance, Diane.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, as you know, we have our budget presentation. Thank you, everyone, for being here for the presentation. First and foremost, I would like to thank the borough, every single person involved in putting together the budget. It is accumulation of an enormous effort and put together with careful decision-making and attention to details. Similar to last year, we have the exact same timing. We are presenting today, and then Alex will go into the details of timing, but we will have the hearing in about a month. I like to look at the presentation in several different parts. We have an overview of the actual budget process, and then we have some of our guiding principles and key takeaways, budget details, and then we touch on the capital plan. So just to talk about the actual annual budget process. So the budget process occurs between the months of November and April, and it includes department heads, borough administrator, and our CFO, Jim Testa. Once a draft is developed, it is reviewed and adjusted based on meetings with the Finance Committee. I took a page from Lisa's playbook from last year, and she said, which was perfect and right on the money, it's really a year-long process. So we have our budget process, but we're continually looking at expenses and going through and seeing, you know, what can we do better? Is there any cost savings anywhere else? So although it's the budget process is now, and we're in the end of it, it really is a year-long process. Then we have the operating budget, which includes all your expenses for your day-to-day yearly expenses, such as personnel costs and revenues. Personnel costs, facility and operating costs, debt service. It is primarily funded through property taxes, licenses, charges for services, etc. And Alex will get into that in detail in other slides. And then we also have the capital budget, which funds major improvements to the borough and its infrastructure, such as paving of roads, major building projects, and these are resources that last for more than a year. Our capital plan is a multi-year plan that we continually look at and review.
As Diane said, the logistics with our budget process. So there must be 28 days between the budget introduction, which we're doing today, and when the budget can be formally adopted. So 28 days between starting today. The public hearing and adoption of the budget will be held on April 30th, 2024. Once that public hearing is closed, the governing body can either adopt the introduced budget or amend the budget. Depending on the amendment, the budget may not be able to be adopted on the same night. There may be a need for further advertisement and additional public hearing. As of tonight, I believe, Bernadette, the budget will be online, available to the public. Tomorrow morning, it will be available to the public.
So our annual budget goals, and our guiding tenet really is fiscal responsibility, sound fiscal planning and management, and continue all the practices that support our AAA bond rating. We assure adequate funding levels of our reserve accounts for tax appeals, storm recovery, and insurance. And then we also consider the burden on the taxpayers. We want to maximize operational efficiencies, review and analyze staffing needs, seek shared services whenever possible and wherever possible, look for grants at various levels, be mindful of the tax impact on taxpayers, which is very important, and we consider that all the time and have to juggle. Consider another thing that's very important is to consider what our impact of our current decisions have on future budgets. And of course, we always want to deliver a very high level of service to our residents.
So as we said, one of our major goals is the AAA bond rating. It's one of our guiding principles. So New Providence has received a AAA bond rating from all three major rating agencies, Moody's, Standard & Poor's, and Fitch. There's only a select few municipalities in New Jersey that have a AAA rating from all three rating agencies. I believe there's 564 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Only about 8% of them have just a one AAA rating. We have all three rating agencies, as we said. And how does that affect us? So in this example, if we take a bond out at $25 million, you can see the total savings between a AAA rate versus a AA rate. We'd save true interest costs about 0.5%, which equates to about $1.3 million. So this just shows that we meet all of our financial commitments. We use the debt to pay for the long-term capital projects we'll talk about. And of course, the cost of this debt is directly related to our ratings.
So now we get to the actual budget Property owners in New Providence pay real estate taxes based upon the assessed value of their property. And our borough collects property taxes for three buckets, basically. Our municipality, our local schools, and the county. And it's important to note that the only budget, or the only piece that we, the borough council and mayor, have control over is a municipality. The next one, yep. Items of note, the proposed budget is under the state cap requirements for appropriations and tax levy. It maintains all current programs. Our state aid increased by $6,535, or less than 1% at 0.5%. Our proposed budget is $25,873,501.81, and the increase in municipal tax is 0.89%, or $58 per year on an average household. We were very aware of the fact that this school budget is increasing because the third bond was passed. So we tried and worked very hard to have our tax rate under 1%. Again, going back to a previous slide, making sure that our services were not cut. We didn't skimp on expenses, and we still put ourselves in a good position for future budgets, future years. Okay. Some of our highlights, continue to deliver a high level of services. Two increases in staff, which are very needed, is a police officer and our borough engineer. And then the biggest drivers, just a quick overview, because Alex will go more in detail. We have budget savings due to the switch in dispatch vendors, and budget savings due to the switch in health benefit vendors, which are offset by insurance costs, negotiated contractual costs. We passed contracts last year. Solid waste recycling cost, capital improvement down payments, and PFRS and PERS pension costs. And Alex will go into detail on some of those.
So here's the prettiest slide of the show here.
Gets the good one.
It's a big pie chart. Biggest drivers, as Diane said, pension, employee benefits, insurance is 18%, but our biggest priority has always been public safety, which is 18% of the appropriation. When you add up all the infrastructure-related items, public works, garbage, sewer treatment, that equates to about 19%. As Diane said, pension, 18%, I mentioned that earlier. So very little movement between the prior 2 years. The percentages kind of remain roughly the same. But as we said, we try to manage this extremely tight and very well on the appropriation side. On the revenue side, 61% of our revenues comes from the municipal taxes. It's not too far off than last year. Let's see, revenues are roughly, other revenues, just so people understand, the 10%, that comes from hotel fees, parking, and shared services. Grants kind of move between 2% and 4% every year. State aid has not changed too much at all, roughly 5%. And the library taxes are 5%, but that's just 5% on one side, just moves in and out every single year.
You forgot my favorite,
Which is?
cat licenses.
Yes, sorry.
Yes, we actually have a line item for cat licenses.
It's in the other.
So I really like this slide. It's very clear, it's very concise. It's basically the tax breakdown, and it shows you the three different buckets broken down even further. So you've got your municipal tax, which, I'll jump to the library portion. We have no control over the library portion, that's a number that we're given, and I believe the same is with the open space, and then the municipal piece. Union County also has a small open space percentage, plus the rest of their, the money that we collect, and then the Board of Education, which that number has increased a little bit, like we said, because of the bond that was approved last year.
So how do we compare to our neighboring communities? We're among the lowest compared to our Union County peer communities, as you can see on this chart. This is based on the 2023 municipal taxes. I think once, as we said, 0.89% increase for the upcoming year. I believe once all of our neighboring communities post, I'm sure we'll be in the same place, if not better. But one thing to note, of course, is our garbage collection is included in our municipal taxes, where our neighboring communities have a separate charge for that.
Same with sewer.
Same with sewers. I'm sorry. Yes, correct. Thank you, Al.
Okay. So then the last piece would be the capital budget, and we have a separate review team that goes over this, but just really quickly, obviously our capital budget funds major improvements to borough facilities and our infrastructure. It allows projects to be amortized over their useful lives rather than just being billed in 1 year. Allows residents utilizing the project in future years to pay their fair share. Supports capital projects through multiple funding sources, including bonds, grants, and cash, and allows aging infrastructure to be maintained through continually investing in capital projects. So it's also a living document. We review it. It's a 5-year plan. And, you know, we look at things constantly. So,
Continuing on the capital project side, so the council is committed to remaining fiscally responsible and pursuing projects based on the needs of our community. 2024 proposed budget includes I was going to ask Jim, we couldn't find $11 to make that 4,030,000. So the 2024 proposed budget includes 29,989 capital improvement plan. The projects will be reviewed on a case-by-case basis before making any decision to move forward with funding and completing the project. So some of the highlights, as you guys have heard last council meeting, the community pool bridge is a big project on our radar. The pickleball courts that we talked about, various street paving projects, and of course you hear me in the engineering section every council meeting, DPW wastewater treatment improvements, capital improvements that we're making there on a constant basis.
so that's our presentation. It will be, like we said, it will be posted on the website tomorrow. We will have a public hearing on April 30th, at which time a public hearing happens when the public can ask questions about the budget. If you have questions, or, you know, you want to talk to Alex, myself, not to throw Bernadette and Jim under the bus, but you're always welcome to ask questions, and then we can have a good
I
discussion.
just want to reiterate something you mentioned at the start, how this is a living document and it takes all the department heads, Bernadette and Jim's guidance. It's my first go-around with this, and it's not an easy task to complete, and I wanted to thank, once again, everybody, all the department heads, all the employees, and Jim, of course, for pulling this all together.
Yeah.
It's a great job.
The level of detail, the meticulousness, if that's a word, you just made it such an easy process for us, answered all of our questions, had the answers before we even asked them, and really worked to get that, our goal of under 1% for the taxpayers. So, thank you again.
Yeah, I think it's important that everybody knows this starts, it really starts right after the budget's voted on. So I know everybody looks that day after, okay, where are we going next year? And how are we gonna save money for next year? And, you know, I know Bernadette's on it all the time. Jim, I know you're on it all the time. Checking out every single department all the time, where we could save a few bucks here and there during the year. So I just wanna say thank you, not only to the department heads, but the employees too.
Yeah.
You know, it goes right down to everybody. So, thank you. Okay?
Okay, so then that brings us to ordinance 2024-03, which is calendar year 2024 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank, NJSA 40A 4-45.14. This is an introduction of ordinance 2024-03, which allows the municipal budget to exceed 1% of the 2023 budget and establishes a capped bank for funds not appropriated as part of the final budget, up to 3.5%. Resolution 2024-108 is a resolution approving the introduction of 2024 municipal operating budget and establishing a hearing date, which we obviously just introduced the budget. And our hearing date, the budget and tax resolution will be held at the municipal building on April 30th at 7:30, at which time and place discussions regarding the budget and tax resolution for the year 2024 may be represented by taxpayers or other interested persons. Resolution 2024-109 is a resolution approving the introduction and establishing Downtown Improvement District, or the SID, the 2024 budget hearing date. So it's just the introduction of the budget. Resolution 2024-110 is a resolution authorizing payment of the attached bills payable list in the amount of $458,675.41. There's only a couple significant items, and that is $236,864 for the February and March health insurance payments to Horizon Healthcare, and then $78,539,000 to Gold Type Business Machines for LPRs. It's paid with current and capital funds. And the last resolution I have is 2024-111. It is a resolution authorizing emergency temporary appropriation. And it's a resolution approving emergency temporary appropriations for the temporary budget.
One thing, a lot of people don't know what LPRs are. They're license plate readers. Okay, so everybody knows what they are. Okay, personnel, Alex.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution 2024-112, resolution appointing Catherine Verbaro as Finance Office Manager for the Borough of New Providence. This appointing Catherine Verbaro as full-time Finance Office Manager with a yearly salary of $68,967 effective April 1st, 2024.
Okay, we have public safety, we have a couple, we have a raffle application, Summit Speech School, RA 1215, and limousine applications, Rocky Limo and Summit Express, and all applications were properly prepared and reviewed. Public Works, boy, Alex, you're busy tonight.
Diane and I'm telling you, need a raise. Public Works, okay, Resolution 2024-113. Resolution supporting application submission to Union County Infrastructure and Municipal Aid Grant Program for 2024. This is the submission of Union County Infrastructure and Municipal Aid Grant for milling and paving of the municipal roads. Resolution 2024-114, resolution approving requisition R2400623 for, I made it wrong before, Sakatcha Ford of Flemington in the amount not to exceed $89,069 for 2024 Ford F450 pickup truck for the wastewater treatment plant, MCC PC contract number 15-C, item 616. This is approving the purchase of a new utility vehicle for the wastewater treatment plant. This will replace a truck that was purchased in 2012. Resolution 2024-115, resolution employing summer help in the Borough of New Providence. This is approving rehiring the following people as summer help for the DPW department effective May 13th. At $17.50 per hour for Ryan Glatz, $17 per hour for Liam Cahill, and $17 per hour for Liam Henn. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Bernadette. You have anything for us?
I know I've spoken to you all about, we're in the process of putting together Municipal Employees Week. I should have a final draft to you guys probably tomorrow or the following day. Other than that, status quo. A lot of painting, a lot of rug, a lot of carpeting.
I'll tell you, it looks great. It really does. Okay, let's go to council committee.
I think discussion items, right?
Well, there's nothing listed on there.
Okay.
You want to do discussion items? That's fine.
No.
Go ahead. No. You want something?
I'm good.
Oh. Anybody? Okay. Committee reports, public safety. We had cookies with the cops, and it was very successful. And they didn't even save me a cookie. But we just did interviews for a new police officer and for some SLEO 2s. And I'll tell you, we had some very good candidates. It's going to be a tough choice, making a decision. And that's really all I have for public safety. Okay, Diane?
I really don't have anything other than, thank you again for all the work on the budget. That's it.
Matt,
Operation is normal.
Pete,
I would just mention that the other night had the honor, along with you, Mayor, and a number of council people, to attend the dinner dance for the fire department. Amazing event. These are great folks, people. These are people that give of themselves tremendously, time to this community. You know, I can't tell you how grateful I am. I also think it's very fair to say that if it wasn't for them, this budget presentation would look a little bit different tonight. You know, the community's very fortunate to have folks like that. So thank you to all our volunteers, fire, EMS, and everyone else in town.
I think we'd be remiss not to congratulate you on your Boy Scouted Person of the Year award. So
Thank you, Mayor.
thank you for what you do. And you're right about the volunteers. Not only the fire department, but the rescue squad. Thank you, Jess. And,
They always need volunteers too.
yeah,
Shameless plug.
I can't even imagine what it would cost. I've heard round numbers, what it would cost if we had to have a paid department or squad. So this budget, you're right, would look a lot different. Okay. Nadine?
Okay, so for Municipal Alliance, tomorrow night in this very room at 6 PM, there will be a Narcan training at 6 PM tomorrow. For those of you who do not know, Narcan is a drug that is administered to somebody who is actively going through an overdose. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, we have seen here in New Providence that we are not immune to these situations.
Isn't it Thursday?
No, tomorrow, the 27th. Today's 26th, right?
Yeah.
Nope, it's tomorrow.
Oh.
Tomorrow at 6 PM. So everybody is welcome to attend. There will be a great presentation beforehand, and I believe a certain number who will be attending will be able to take home Narcan kits with you. It is something that's very important, and again, we are not immune to it here in New Providence, and it's something that everybody should learn how to do and actually have access to. Highly recommend. My next topic is about affordable housing. As we have started talking with everybody, we want this to be a topic that we continue in discussion, that we continue in conversation. We want all of our residents to know exactly what is happening as it is happening. And basically you are finding out about things as we find out about them as well. Since I am not an expert on this by any means, we went to our planner and we asked her to put together some bullets. So if you will allow me, I'm just going to read this verbatim. I'm not going to put any of my own words into this. This is coming right from our planners. Okay. The bill was signed by Governor Murphy on March 20th, 2024. The Department of Community Affairs is now responsible for calculating the regional need for each of the 6 housing regions. Union County, which is us, along with Essex County, Morris County, and Warren County are in Region 2, as well as each municipality's fair share of the regional obligation. This committee, the DCA, has 7 months from the effective date of the legislation to release the calculations, so that puts our release date around October 20th of 2024. It is still unknown which data sets the DCA will use for the calculations, but the legislation provides the methodology to be used for such calculations. There is potential work to be done between now and the October release date, but at the very least, we need to wait until the draft of the new state plan is released in April. Until then, our office will continue to review and digest the new methodology. We also note that the New Jersey Office of Planning Advocacy will release a draft of the new state development and redevelopment plan on April 8th. Bill S50/A4 declares that its changes are, quote, made with the intention of furthering consistency with the state development and redevelopment plan, end quote. A cross-acceptance process for adoption of the new state plan will begin on its release date of April 8th. The cross-acceptance plan is intended to be in process for feedback from government entities with the goal of creating a plan that is consistent with county, regional, and municipal planning documents. The county planning director and their staff is responsible for acting on behalf of each municipality within the county to negotiate the state plan. It is recommended that once the state plan draft is released, the borough review it in light of land use and housing topics and be in contact with the county planning director for next steps. So that is our latest update on that. Again, everything was passed by the Assembly, Senate, and signed by the governor. So now we are in a waiting pattern. As we have constantly reiterated, we all agree that New Jersey is definitely overpriced and nobody is arguing with affordable housing. We are just very concerned about what this methodology is going to look like and how it's going to impact us. So as soon as anything else comes my way, I will present it to you. I'm not going to put it in my own words. I will give you exact information as it comes about, because I, along with everybody else, believes that everybody needs to be up to date on what's going on. So that's it for me. Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's important to know that, you know, we get the information just like everybody else. And there are a couple towns already looking to litigate a lot of this stuff. So I'm hoping the League of Municipalities is going to step in and, you know, recommend some amendments and maybe get in here with the legislature in the future. Okay, Alex.
Just two things. One, another really big, large rainstorm last Saturday, wastewater treatment plant. Thank you again. Keeping this, keep working through those storms. It's amazing. And just a reminder, tomorrow at the High School Media Center, Chief Hen is having a traffic meeting. This is regarding the middle school and high school traffic pattern. Tomorrow from 7 to 8 p.m.
Yeah.
At the Media Center. That's all I have.
Actually, it fits well with the Narcan. Come here from 6 to 7 and go over
Go
to
right
go right over to the library at this high school.
Lisa.
Mental Health Advocacy and Education Committee met last week. We had a guest presenting to us, Julie Donahue, who is the president of NAMI of Union County. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Health. She shared with us some of the resources and programs that Union County NAMI is doing, that all, you know, of Union County residents are able to access and attend. They, you know, it's a small organization. I thought it was like this big thing. It's like a handful of people, and they do so much. It's so amazing, and all just run on donations and volunteers. It's an amazing organization, but you know, we plan to work with them and sort of glean some of the resources that they have, some of the info. We do have an updated quick reference guide that Bernadette, maybe we could post this. So this is for 2023-24. It has phone numbers for everything you could possibly imagine on here, which is amazing. The rest of the meeting was centered around, you know, putting together the grant that Nadine spoke about earlier. So hopefully we get that done and underway. The library board met last week as well, and the library director, Stacy Mish, she has just been really awesome this past year. She put together the year-end annual report that goes to the state. And just to give you some statistics of what the library's done this year, has grown. It's literally grown, almost doubled, right? Visitors to the library up 25% this year, to 70,000 people. Website visits up 85% to almost 100,000. Books borrowed up 146% to 80,050. I mean, it just goes on and on. E-books borrowed, audiobooks, digital items that are available. A lot of that has to do with joining the main consortium. We have a lot more resources available. Any book that you want is available. So hopefully that's, you know, driving up some of those statistics. But it's really been an amazing year over there.
Okay, now we have public comments. And we started this last meeting This is an opportunity for any member of the public to be heard about issues that are not separate topics scheduled for a public hearing tonight. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes and may only speak once on any one topic. Anybody wishing to address council? Yes, Jim.
Good evening. Jim Madden, 324 Charnwood Road. Great job with the budget, by the way. Thanks for that. Remember those days very well. I have to say that I was quite disappointed with the news this week coming out of Trenton with regards to A4S50. I was on the Affordable Housing Committee while I was on council, and we worked through the last round settlement, and it was no easy chore. I think, Mayor, we've spent upwards of $500,000 on planners to, well, I mean, I had 500, I went through my old files.
Yeah.
I had 500,000 in appropriations that we approved while I was on council to handle the settlements. And you remember how many times we had to go down to Union County? We settled and then they changed the densities. And then we settled and they changed the densities. We're 3.6 square miles of the most beautiful town in New Jersey, I have to say. I was very fortunate to move here 34 years ago. Still living in the same house. It's affordable. But this kind of stuff goes through. Affordable housing will not be affordable for folks like me. Who's going to pay for the infrastructure? Who's going to pay for the additional schools that are necessary? I mean, I'm looking at Jeff Seranian's estimates. You know Jeff from eConsult. Anybody want to take a guess on what they think New Providence is going to be given? Anyone? We're supposed to get, based on the estimates and the formulas, 126 more affordable units, which is 20%. 80% is 631, and zoning for another 758. The last round, we were given 316. It drove a total amount of 1,209 units that we would have to zone for. Anybody want to take a guess at the 5-mile radius of New Providence? We all talk about traffic congestion, environmental factors. Anybody want to guess how many units are estimated within a 5-mile radius of New Providence? 4,200. 4,200. That's what the affordable component is. When you put that with a market unit component of almost 21,000, this proposal, this bill, is we're facing into 25,200 housing units to be zoned within a 5-mile radius of where we are right now. Gruel Hire estimated 1.7 children per unit in the 2018 settlement. This was just to understand what the impact could be potentially. And the higher figure, the worst case scenario, was 2.2 kids per unit. Anybody want to do the math on how many new school children will be in the area? Anybody want to do the math on how many new cars will be on the road? Now, I remind everybody, we have a traffic congestion problem as it is. 287, 24, 78, and then guess everybody has Waze. And Waze takes them through where? The Swamp, New Providence, Chatham. Have we ever seen so many cars on the road? I know we're doing the best we can to put these zoning proposals near transit capable areas, okay? We maximized every senior, every rental, every transit credit we could get in the last settlement. Now, there's been some towns that have, and again, I am absolutely for affordable housing. It's the luxury market units that I am offended and opposed by. because that competes with the cost or the value of my single largest asset, which is my home. Affordable housing becomes unaffordable for those who have it under this current proposal. Again, make no mistake, I am not opposed to affordable housing. I'm 100%. I would like to see Trenton work on a bill that takes the affordable component to 30, 40, 50%. If we're really going to solve the problem, it's not by making builders and developers wealthy. This has become a big virtue signal, if you ask me. I'm asking this council to consider passing a resolution to oppose A40S50. Which copy would you like? Would you like the one that Montville passed, or the one that Wayne passed, or the one that Summit introduced?
I'll tell you what, give them to Bernadette and we can look.
Okay? So, again, enough's enough here. This is the most densely populated state in the country. There are 4,300 abandoned homes that could be rehabilitated and renovated and auctioned off to those who would qualify. 4,300, rather than proposing 25,000 units potentially to be zoned for in a 5-mile radius of New Providence. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your service. This is a tough one, guys, but I think we have to make a statement about opposing A4S50. Thanks very much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
You know, I think Jim's, he's right about, nobody's against affordable housing. It's the high density component that comes with it. And you can see what's going on in some of these other communities around us, and it's tough. Yes, Kathleen?
Hi, Kathleen Dolan, 12 Laurel Drive. I wanted to ask a question about the tree ordinance. I think Mr. Rizzo talked about this last time. And I'm just speaking for myself. I'm a member of the Sustainable New Providence Committee. And I'm wondering if we could have some input into that. Obviously, we're very interested in tree management, forestry management in New Providence. And it feels like this would be a good opportunity to get some input from people who have a very, passionate interest in the topic. So we were kind of surprised to hear that it was being worked on. It feels like we would like to have some collaboration in that process.
Well, I think the best thing to do is have Mr. Rizzo work on it, and then you can take a look at it when he's done with it.
Yeah, I'll share it.
Okay.
Once I have it.
Just in the last 2 days, been in communication with the borough's arborist, which I didn't even know existed, quite frankly.
Yeah.
But, so John he's already working on it himself. I assume he works with your committee too. I don't know much about him. But this
well,
is his area.
Yeah,
so I don't have a
exactly.
problem
We're aware of the
sharing.
arborist, but we haven't met him. I think some of us have been in contact with him
Okay.
in terms of what's going on in the town. I just feel like we need to connect some dots.
I think-
My
I
only
think-
So-
concern, though, is I don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, because we are under a time limit. So, because I've done this in another town, and everybody's got something to say, and everybody's got, but, I certainly don't have an issue with your committee taking a look at it.
Okay, thank you, appreciate that. In terms of the budget, I was wondering if it would be possible maybe in future, and even maybe for the April 30th meeting, to share the slides that are being presented with the public.
They'll be
At the-
posted tomorrow.
No,
On the
okay, so I'm talking about the people that came to the meeting, or the people that are watching the meeting online, were, trying to scribble notes and trying to
It'll be on the
read what was
website
on there.
tomorrow.
They're always on the
In the
website.
context of being able to write down and remember what you were hearing. So obviously, we'll get access to the slides tomorrow, but it would have been nice to have it tonight. I don't know if there's a rule against that. If you could make copies of the agenda, you can make copies of the
Well, it has to
slides.
be, it's one of our resolutions, so it can't be shared until we've approved it. just like the bill
Well,
list
it's a
is not
draft.
shared until
So, I mean, you
This
share
is the meeting
resolutions.
where we're
presenting it, and
the
then,
actual budget presentation, so you get it once it's presented.
Mhm.
That's how it works.
Okay.
We
That's the
actually
process.
changed this from the previous
Last year
from
was-
2 years ago, where we did the presentation and did the slideshow when we did the budget.
when we had the
This,
hearing.
we did it, we put it, the presentation a month early. So people have any questions and can look at it,
Okay.
so.
No, that definitely is important. I think public input into the budget is very important. So in terms of the April 30th meeting, what, we will have the budget, we'll have the slides from tonight. Will there be any other documentation provided in advance of April 30th? And can we ask
We-
questions
Yes.
through the action line
That's what
prior to April
is
30th?
about, you to ask questions.
Well, I don't think you have to wait till April 30th, right? You'll have the
Yeah.
budget
We
tomorrow.
can send
right? You
questions
wanna
in
start taking a
throughout.
look at the budget and you have questions, that's the whole concept
Okay.
behind the 30 days.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
and that actually will give meaningful input and meaningful answers.
Right, okay. The last question is, how do you define peer communities when you talk about New Providence's tax rate being second in the line of peer communities? How's that defined?
We use Union County.
Right, but what is peer, like,
They're on the list.
They're on the
Some-
list, Summit, New.
oh, Union County comes up with peer communities for each town?
No, what they do is our neighboring communities, we come up with what their tax rates are.
So anybody that's contiguous to New Providence, is that what
Yeah,
you're
and,
considering?
you know, a little farther out we can.
Scott
Yeah.
Plains.
Okay. All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Okay. You're being polite. Yes, Alan.
Alan Swanson, 47 Overhill Road. Is there a regulation or an ordinance or a law that says that you are required to not present the budget to be proposed at this meeting? I mean, you said that you're required, and every other year that I've been here, there's been a document.
Years ago, we used to present the budget when the slideshow at the last meeting. We moved it up to the first meeting of the budget, so everybody could take a look at the budget and if they have questions, they can ask the questions and be educated and informed for the voting of the budget.
Well, my question is that Councilman Kaminsky said that you're required to approve this process before you can release the proposed budget. It's a proposed budget, it's
Yeah,
not.
no, this is our meeting where these guys worked really hard on the budget up until like yesterday, right? This presentation was maybe completed this morning, right? So we introduce it to the public. We're not gonna send it out to the public until it's completed. And at this meeting, we introduce it. That's the process.
Oh, okay. I don't want to belabor the point. I guess I'm going to snowball on Kathleen's comment about the documents on the screen. You know, I've been here many times talking about my hearing loss. You know, I'm really functionally deaf without my hearing aids. The hearing aid technology is just really fantastic, so I'm able to function quite well in most environments. There are environments where it's very difficult. The reason I bring that up is I have a new experience. I had surgery on my retina, on my right retina, a week ago, and my right eye is, functionally really not all there. Reading is very difficult and what have you. The ADA, as I've pointed out a number of times in terms of accommodating for people with disabilities, really doesn't allow for, oh, we'll do it another time, or you can pick it up another time, or something like that. You as a body, having an open meeting, need to make it accessible to everyone. I guarantee you, if you have a hearing, if you have a visual impairment, this evening's presentation was inaccessible to you, totally inaccessible. I just bring this up because all I want to do is, I've started talking about this in 2018, about the hearing loss. I just want to bring up again that it's something that you need to be aware of. If we're going to be talking about a diverse community, diversity includes people with disabilities. If there was no ramp into this building, or if the ramp was damaged, people would go crazy because they would see the ramp is damaged. It would be repaired immediately. That's the attitude you have to have about all disabilities. Doesn't matter, not the ones that you see. You don't see that I can't really see out of my right eye very well right now. If I go like this and close the left eye, you're all about 10 feet underwater. You can't see that I have a pretty severe hearing loss. You don't see those things. That ramp that doesn't function, you see it. Or that street light that's out, you see it, and it gets reported immediately. Try to put in your mind the things that you don't see as well. And think about that when you're putting together presentations and when you're going to have a meeting that's going to be accommodating people. Enough said on that. I'd like to say one quick thing about the affordable housing. One of the reasons that we're in the situation where we are, that there is whatever you decide the relationship is, 80-20, 60-40, there are people who are going to say it's no good, you can't do that. If you do it 60-40 or something, people are going to complain it's 60-40. So that's one thing to say. What's important to realize is the reason that we're at this point in 2024 is that the Supreme Court of New Jersey ordered that every town in New Jersey needed to begin the process of providing affordable housing to all of their residents, or not, but they needed to provide affordable housing. That decision was made in 1975. And what happened was, I hate to say towns, but, well, Milburn is fighting it right now. Towns, the wealthy towns fought it for years and years and years. They fought it in the legislature. You know, these wasn't the Democrats and the Republicans are both responsible for not coming up and agreeing that we need to work positively on the Supreme Court's decision in 1975, the Mount Laurel decision. And they fought it until, and there were 3 more court cases where the Supreme Court kept saying, do it, you need to do it. Until finally, in 2015, they said, you're not going to do this. We're going to make you do it. And that's what they did. And everybody is screaming about that now.
Okay, thank you for your comments, Alan. I think we know the history of how this goes. Like I said before, we never shipped our affordable housing out. We are considered a good town, and I'm proud that we did what we did in the past years. But going through this, you know, meeting after meeting isn't going to solve the problem. Quite frankly, I believe that the governors and the legislatures should have passed legislation a decade ago to take care of this problem. And I agree with what you're saying, but, you know, we are where we are, and we have to deal with the cards we're dealt. So that's why you're going to see a lot of towns resisting what's going on, because quite frankly, the infrastructure, not only infrastructure, but the schools and the municipalities can't handle that type of population. So thank you for your comments tonight.
Let me just say one final thing.
It's-
I
You've
have
gone
said
over
to,
your 3 minutes.
I have said, well,
I've been liberal.
okay. I'm trying to pay you a compliment here.
I know. I don't mean a compliment, and I appreciate you doing it, but, you know, we've gone through this ad nauseam.
Okay, I happen to, I'm going to do it anyway, and that is that you did select perfect properties to be rezoned for the affordable housing. They definitely meet the criteria, and there is a criteria that's set up. It's called the Jacobson Principles under the Jacobson rules that are in the new legislation. But you essentially did that, and I commend you for that. I think that I wish that more towns didn't go and pick out, well, let's pick out this farm and rezone it, that sort of thing.
We
There are
were
fights
told
going
by
on.
the special master, what we did in New Providence was the best plan that they've ever seen. So,
You have my vote of approval.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
Ann Poole, 65 Madison Avenue. Thank you first for all the budget information, appreciate it. I have a few specific questions about it. It sounds though it's better off coming out on April 30th? Okay, so I will bring those then.
Oh, you could ask a question right now. I mean, Jim's here, so he would know.
Okay. Maybe before that, though, in terms of advertising, you mentioned about advertising up there. And I have to say, I haven't been downtown recently. I don't know if you had it up on that electronic board downtown, but I had to look through the agenda and wait for the agenda. I knew it was about this time to come to this meeting, but it's not like on the front of the website unless I'm doing something wrong. Would it make sense to have something like of this magnitude on the front, like of the announcements? And also for the next meeting? Just a suggestion, because it talks about advertising. I don't know whether I'm missing something or it's advertised somewhere else.
I think
Like
it's
we
just
used to have in-
posting, right?
It's just posted, that's what it is.
By law, we have to advertise it in the newspaper.
It's
So-
Prior to the hearing,
Prior
not
to-
prior to the intro, which was
So
tonight.
today's the
So I get what you're
introduction.
saying.
Right, okay, but I
And
mean,
we
so
have-
before the
we also-
hearing,
We also have Instagram, which a lot of people are on Instagram, and Facebook, and, I mean, it says it's a council meeting, it doesn't say it on there, but, I mean,
maybe
I
we
guess
could
next
amp
time
it
we
up a
can
little
put it
bit,
up.
just so people come out for these
big,
things,
big
because it's
steps.
helpful to
We've
hear
been-
that.
We've been trying.
Baby steps. Okay, more specifically, so the surplus, we didn't really talk about it very much, but I always have a lot of questions about that. Like, it seems to be growing a bit, and I'm not really clear what we're doing with it, what's the purpose of it exactly, what's our target, where do we want to be as a percent of everything with, what the overall budget with this surplus? And I know we talked about the AAA bond rating. And for me, hearing that we are among a few towns that have all these great ratings, it sounds good. But on the other hand, are other towns making different choices, different balances about whether we need to be AAA across all the ratings agencies? Or maybe we sacrifice a little bit of that. Maybe that surplus could go to something else. In fact, maybe could it go towards some sort of subsidy for this affordable housing so that we don't have to go 80-20?
Every time you go down a rating, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jim, that you actually, when you're paying off a bond, it's gonna cost you a lot more money.
I saw that, 1.2 million
Right,
over the course of 20 years,
that's exactly right.
which divided over 20 years is like $65,000.
That's just one example.
That's just one
One
example.
example.
And just,
Multi-layering bonds that we have.
yeah, and on a county level, the county just raised their taxes, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it was like 1.75%, and they're growing their surplus also. So it's a very useful tool, and we can address that on
Yeah, I'd just like to hear more, because obviously, there's probably some wish list of projects to do, and we make a choice that we put something aside for surplus. And are we, can we hear a little bit about what that balance is, and why do we make those choices?
Okay.
Like I said, I think this affordable thing, if we could, one of these buildings that's slated, if we could subsidize that, maybe we can get a lot more of the affordable housing right into one of those properties.
Yeah, the surplus fund is like your emergency fund that you have
Right.
at home. I mean, during Ida, if we didn't have a surplus fund, we would have been up a creek without a paddle, so to speak. I mean, we dipped into that big time, but, I mean, I'm sure they can touch on it a little bit more
Yeah,
next time, but it
what's the
is-
amount? What's the optimal amount for something like that? Because, I don't know, it just
And
seems
we're
like it
also
keeps
not the
getting-
people who are paying for the affordable housing units.
Right.
They're being paid for by the builders.
Right, but you can come up with, there are towns that have purchased properties and had a say and an input into how that, how much it gets sold. I don't know, I mean, it's complicated. I could probably
It's
put
my
something
understanding
together.
it's federal money. Because
You
I,
can- yeah, you
because I
certainly
did,
can get
because
grants.
I did inquire about that with the planner recently. And I believe it's federal money that we would have to access
Oh,
to be
yeah,
able
no,
to
no,
do
no,
that,
you can.
which would not have any impact on the surplus.
That's, right, no, you can go after that, you can get grants. Some towns have done that, and they've, some builders will work with, they'll help you get those grants. But I'm also thinking that the surplus can be part of it if we purchased a property
So,
and had some
I
say
just,
in it.
we'll touch base.
Probably
a little-
over my time.
I mean, Jim
but-
could probably talk about the surplus a little bit more. Lisa just mentioned it. And a lot of towns may dip into their surplus for certain things. They may buy something, some equipment or some capital improvements that they might use their surplus for. And then they need emergency funds and they don't have them. So what do? They raise taxes, right? So you'll see some towns' tax rates go, they may be up 6% one year, down 1% the next year. We don't do that here. One of the things we try to do, and you see in our presentation, is consistently keep a moderate increase in our taxes, right? Based on all of the things that you see in costs that are going up, right? The insurance costs going up, right? Pensions going up,
Salaries.
salaries, right? So, the portion of the budget that we talked about tonight is a very small portion of your entire tax bill. Like we presented tonight, and then we have, everyone here has done this presentation now, is to make sure that is a consistent, moderate increase. Very hard to do, especially when you have expenses going up as high as they have been over the last few years. So, yeah, can we dip into our, fund and lower taxes? Sure, we could, right? If we did that the next year, we may have an issue, something may happen, we have a storm, or we have a fire or something that takes out, some of our infrastructure. Where's that money gonna come from? It's gonna come from taxes. We're gonna have to raise taxes, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying very hard to manage that difficult equation, if you will.
I think it's also important to understand that rating agencies look at stability more than anything else. And that's what we've been trying to do. We've come up with this plan since 2003, and we've kept the course. That's one of the reasons why we're at the AAA bond rating. And I know you say it's $65,000 a year. It's a lot of money. And I think $65,000 is a lot of money a year.
It depends on the scale, right?
Yeah.
But it's a
But
fair,
the other thing, when we have a storm like Ida or Sandy, we have to put out money. FEMA doesn't pay us for years after. We have to get the infrastructure repaired. And if we don't have that money, then it can't get repaired. We're gonna have to go out for bonds. And it's gonna increase the tax rate. So I think it's very prudent that we have the amount of surplus. I know they cap surplus at what is it? Statutorily, right?
Yeah, for schools it's 2%, which is very low.
Yeah.
But the point is, there's the reoccurring surplus, because if you don't have reoccurring surplus to use each year in the budget year, you're gonna have tax
Right.
spikes to
Is
that
it
point.
increasing though? I have a sense it's like increasing. Is it just according to inflation, or is it?
No,
That
that's
was really
really
what the question is.
but
What's our
it's based on
trajectory?
our operations from year to year. Now, to your point, what that number is as a base, that's that's up for council and the administration to decide. But all the factors that fall into that have to do with the ratings. It has to do with having enough cash on a monthly basis to pay all the bills, because honestly, you pay the schools, you pay the county, but you're collecting taxes, so you need some sort of cash on hand to be able to, right, exactly, to be able to pay all these. So that's also part of the operational piece.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different pieces that have to do with the surplus numbers and all the reserve numbers, which to the point when you have a major storm, if you didn't have those funds, we'd be hitting surplus hard, which you probably have a tax increase the following year. So, you know, it's a budget plan. You just try to make the best you can. You're always looking 2 years out. Like when we're doing the budget this year, I have eyes on next year because you don't want the spikes. You want it flat.
Yeah.
As flat as possible.
And what
Yeah,
do we
I
run, between 2.5 and 3 million in surplus, something like that?
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
I
it's
mean,
approximately
is it,
$3 million.
Yeah.
and that's staying steady? Because it feels like the numbers that I've seen have climbed.
Eight,
It climbed a little bit.
From
I'm sorry to
last
jump
year.
in, but I can bring a schedule or I can
Yeah, I
show
think
it
if
to
we
you,
can just, in the
over the past,
presentation,
but-
right.
yeah.
Yeah, that's all I'm asking is if we make it clear what our target is, why are we doing it that way?
Yeah.
Like, what choices are we making to
Sure.
having this
Responsibility.
amazing rating and.
And I'm sure they can articulate that for you. And I'll tell you, the other dimension that we haven't talked once about, that this budget achieves and all our past budgets achieves as well, is not only the fiscal strength and stability, the modest tax increases without spikes, but ensuring that we're making the investments necessary to continue to have the quality of life and the capital infrastructure that we enjoy here. If I'm not mistaken, today there were some very big announcements with regard to how desirable our town is and how highly ranked we are in the state and in this county. So, you know, having a strong budgeting process and having the diligence and the prudence that this community has had for many years has served us quite well. Thank you.
Just to reference that.
Yeah, go ahead,
Pete,
put that in
that
context,
was
please.
the Nietzsche report said we're #1 town in Union County and #1 place to raise your family in Union County. So
Politics.
ahead of,
You know, I do have one thing to say. Alan Lerner, 24 Thomas Street. So Union County is going to be having a sweeping reevaluation of property value, 2025, 2026, I believe. Does that have any impact on the affordable housing, or can you speak about anything having to do
I
with
don't
that?
believe so.
'Cause, I mean,
That
obviously-
reval. We're planning to have a reval either the end of this year or next year.
I mean, obviously, it's like stabilize, you know, property values, and for everybody to be paying their fair share. I assume that, you know, I was reading some of the numbers, I think it's kind of fictitious that 80% is not gonna move and maybe 20% will go higher. I'm sort of figuring with the amount of like sales that have happened in Union County, it's probably gonna be upwards of like 60% to 40% staying stagnant.
When we went to tax court, they said,
Brian Flynn, our tax
Yeah.
assessor, feels that it'll probably a third will remain the same, a third will go up, and a
That's right.
third will go down.
yeah,
You
Go
know,
down,
Well,
okay.
in a municipality like ours, where we're generating a lot of permits for building, those tax assessments are generally correct. You know, in places where there's not a lot of construction or people aren't pulling permits, your tax assessment kind of gets a little wonky because you're assessed on what the improvements are to your house.
right.
Okay, and one other point, 192 units are being built near the AWR school.
Right.
And, you know, I've read different things about the affordable housing that it's gonna be included there. But no matter how much affordable housing to market rate, every single one of them is gonna end up going to AWR. And so the point of saturation for that school is gonna be through the roof. And I know that, you know, the redistricting of, you know, our town is sort of scheduling certain areas to go to Saltbrook. But and I know it's close to, you know, transportation, it's really close to, you know, Murray Hill train station, but is there a way that any affordable housing that can be done sort of in the divisive line, where like half would go to Saltbrook, half would go to AWR?
The,
I say that 'cause my daughter's in AWR and like, you
Yeah.
know, coming from New York and having like 30, 40 kids per class is obviously not the optimal.
Well, that's a Board of Education question, but the, Jim can
Got the
probably
board
answer
member.
this.
Yeah, right now we have a demographer looking at that whole situation again. He's supposed to get back to us in April, so I would really highly recommend you watch the Board of Ed end of it when they're going.
Yeah, I
out.
do.
Definitely come to
I
the
do.
meeting, with regards to all the new construction, because I think we even reached out to get all the numbers. So, because we are looking at moving the line, but we'll have a demographer and a whole presentation. I think it's gonna be in April sometime, so definitely, watch the Board of Ed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just clarify something, I don't think you meant to say it, but there's 192 units, 38 of those will be affordable units mixed throughout.
Oh, no, I know that.
The,
I just don't know what percentage, because there were certain models that were being thrown around, and they were also gonna be leaving more space available to develop more space in that area. So it's 192 planned now.
There's no more development allowed in that area. On that, it's zoned for the 192 units, that's only the amount of units that can be built on that piece of
I
property.
think he's referring to the overlay.
The
And,
zone, yeah.
we had a choice, we could overlay it in a certain area, or overlay the whole town. We weren't gonna overlay the whole town, because you'd have projects going up in your neighborhoods. They knock a couple houses down and you'd have projects going in. And that's not what we don't wanna destroy neighborhoods, existing neighborhoods. So that's why it was done the way it was, and that's why I think the special master said it was the best plan they ever saw. So, you know,
Well, I just know from like, so I'm from New York, I deal in real estate all the time, and when new buildings go up, they're sort of, they throw around the number 80-20, and if they actually do 60-40, the developers get a huge tax incentive, and they get sort of like, wipe some stuff from their balance sheet, so.
ours is 80-20, so,
Also, that equation is something I believe is what we talked about earlier, is something that's gonna take 7 months till we really know what that is.
For this round.
70-30, what's the difference?
at any rate. Okay. Anyone else wishing to address council? Seeing no one, I declare the public comments closed. And we need a motion for 1 through 18, please.
So moved?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Ms. Belisca?
Aye.
Mr. Kaminsky?
Aye.
Mr. DeSarno? Mrs. Joffrey?
Yes.
Mr. Cogan?
Yes.
Mrs. McKnight?
Yes.
And I'd like to wish everybody a happy Easter, Good Friday, and
Holy
wish our Jewish friends, they had a happy Purim.
No, Good
And,
Friday. Oh, and Holy.
just be safe, huh?
Happy Holy.
Oh, and happy Holy. A lot of different,
holidays all at once.
Thank you all, and,
Motion for adjournment?
just be safe out there.
Motion for
Motion
adjournment.
Motion for adjournment, my favorite part.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
No, so be it.
Good night. Just